van der Velde gracefully acknowledged the power of Widnes after their display at Norton Park. Since then, he's been drawing up plans quite literally to ensure it doesn't happen again. He's talking now with Clive Tilsley.
Well, Darryl, this is the board from which you'll deliver your final address to the players. 3 main points. Start strongly. What are you looking for there?
Well, Clive, we've actually been starting, very, very slowly in our games the last month or so. So, the first set of 6 tackles is important. We've got to make sure that whether it's attack or defence, that we start very, very positively and strongly.
Once on defence, you've highlighted 1 or 2 things here. Phil McKenzie running off at play the balls.
Yeah, well, a lot of their players do run off from dummy half, so it's important our 2 markers work and curtail the yardage that they make.
What's a gang tackle?
A gang tackle is there to slow the play down. You've got 2 or 3 players come into the 1 tackle, and it's an intimidation tactic, actually.
Hit on suspicion? That sounds a bit intimidating.
Well, a lot of teams do a lot of wraparounds and decoy runners, so they're all potential ball carriers. So we've got to take the ball, locate with the ball.
Take the pivot man. Now, on attack, set up field position, work from the middle of the field, rolling rucks, support the ball carrier. Set up field position, the key, yeah? Yeah,
set up. What we want to do is mainly look at probably working to a particular part of the field to set up 2 or 3 plays, our set plays, but our set plays don't win games. It's just something that we work to, and if we've got good field position, we can actually execute them.
Now, your final words to the team will be these, yes?
This will be the final address.
Go on.
It's play the game in lots of 6 tackles, forget the past and don't plan for the future. I'm concerned about the outcome. Well, the outcome will take care of itself as long as every player plays to his potential. So I said, let's forget about winning and losing today. All I want you to do is go out there and give it your best shot and play to your potential.
So you're saying that if Castleford play to their potential, you needn't worry?
Exactly. We'll win the game.
Well, that's positive stuff from Darryl van der Velde. I'm delighted to welcome back the Hull coach, Brian Smith. Brian, in the papers this morning, Ronnie Gibbs, the Australian who's just left Castleford, was actually saying that some of his teammates were work shy, though.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with him, although I think some of his teammates might suggest that he was a little bit the same this time in his trip back to England. But I think that is part of Castleford's problem, and Darryl van der Velde has rightly isolated that and tried to get that in a nutshell by the quotations that he has at the end. He needs them to play on every play, not have rest periods, but be working all throughout the game.
Brian, thanks very much. Well, Darryl van der Velde is a man who really needs to turn things round at Weldon Road, and quickly. 5 successive defeats have persuaded him to shell out nearly £150,000 on the Leeds forward Lee Crooks to provide the missing spark. It's called buying success. Well, Brian, 150,000, it's a lot of money. Is that a good buy for Castleford, Lee Crooks?
Well, the proof's in the pudding, I guess, and they'll be looking for big things. I think everybody knows that. I think Lee's been disappointed. Lee Crooks has been disappointed himself since his big money move from Hull a few years ago. Lee's proven himself as a top quality player for Hull, for England, even in Australia. He's a top quality player, but he's got some ground to make up.
Well, you picked out a couple of key men for this afternoon's game. Let's begin with Castleford first.
I think one of the key players, and an interesting player for us all to look at today, is Jeff Hardy. The new signing is an Australian player who I actually know from schoolboy days.
You taught him, I believe.
I was his teacher. I remember the day Jeffrey came to high school. Jeffrey's come via Sheffield to Cass. He's a competent, all-round player, a good quality player.
OK, let's now take a look at Widnes then.
Well, everybody knows about Widnes' speed on the outside and the fact that they can score tries by shifting the ball very wide and going around the outside of you. But this player, Phil McKenzie, is the one player who can open you up right through the middle. He's got lovely footwork, he can pass the ball, and he's got a real smell for a try.
Darryl van der Velde, interestingly enough, singled out Phil McKenzie on his board we saw just before.
And rightly so. I agree with, we always concentrate on him in our game plans. I think he's a very important part, an underestimated player with Widnes.
Brian, thanks very much for now. Well, there's no Phil Larder today. Phil's away with the Great Britain under-21s in France. Instead, we've got Fred Lindov, the controller of Rugby League referees. Now, Fred will be monitoring a regular rundown of match facts and individual performance. Fred, any key areas you'll be looking for this afternoon?
No, I think it's just looking at... It's going to be an interesting exercise looking at players' errors today instead of refereeing errors.
Fred, thanks very much. We'll be hearing a bit more from you later. Time now, though, to join our match commentator for the afternoon, Clive Tilsley.
Thanks, Rob. Weldon Road, one of the most atmospheric rugby league grounds, very tight and compact. Not the place Widnes would choose to launch their last push for the title. Doug Lawton's choice restricted by the loss of Jonathan Davis, but his former Welsh international teammate John Devereux has recovered from injury. Here is the Widnes team. Devereux will play at 2. They've reshuffled a little bit. Alan Tate's back at 1 and Andy Currier's back in the centre. Devereux on the right wing. Tony Myler passed a fitness test this morning and plays at loose forward, but he actually refuses to wear the number 13 shirt as a matter of superstition. Number 12. Castleford have 4 players away with the Great Britain under-21 team in France. So a couple of the Britain over-21s, Kevin Ward and Kevin Beardmore, return to the front row. There are 5 changes from the side beaten at St Helens last weekend. Last weekend was a trying one for our match referee today, Jerry Kershaw. His handling of the Regal Trophy final drew criticism, but he remains one of the league's most conscientious and experienced officials. A teacher from Easingwold near York. Doug Lawton has spelled out the task facing Widnes in the remaining 11 games of the season. He says they can't afford to lose even one more. They've been beaten 4 times in the championship so far this season. They won it last year with 5 defeats and with 6 defeats the year before that, chasing now a unique championship hat-trick. A face that gives very little away. Widnes in a change strip of red today. They brought a fair smattering of support. There's a real feeling inside Weldon Road, though, on a match afternoon, which you'll sense as the atmosphere builds up during the day. It's a make-or-break time for the championship objectives of these 2 teams. Widnes 6 points adrift of the league leaders Wigan, have no more room for manoeuvre if they're to drive home their bid for the hat-trick. Castleford have their sights on a top 4 place, but are only 4 points clear of the relegation zone at the start of play. Kevin Ward back in the Castleford first team. Would almost certainly have been in the Great Britain Test team had he been fit at the start of the season. Yet he's finished up playing 18 rugby in the last few weeks. Here's Kevin Beardmore, another man looking to prove a point or 2 this afternoon. Penalty given against Tony Myler for holding him down after the tackle. But Beardmore too has had to play some reserve team football recently, as Darrell van der Velde gives the younger brigade a chance at Castleford. Brian Smith's joined me in the commentary position, and Darrell was telling me that he finds it a little bit more difficult to preach his new gospel to the older players in his dressing room. They're not used to it.
Yeah, I guess that's a problem that most coaches face, but I think it comes down more to the character and the quality of the person rather than his age. Some of the best players I've coached and the most coachable are the older ones, I should say. Some of the younger ones have got their heads in the clouds.
Well, here's Kevin Ward and Beardmore together again, and here's John Joyner, the very experienced player who captains Castleford. Lee Crooks dropped the ball. Joyner's recovered it, but it went forward. And they're the kind of mistakes that the Australian coach is trying to eliminate from the Castleford game. Jerry Kershaw being very, very definite about the formation of the scrums. A lot of discussion about this set piece in the rugby league game at the moment. Widnes have won it. Alan Tate, the fullback. Myler. It's a miracle that he's played today. He's passed a fitness test this morning on back and neck injuries. Mike O'Neill in the scrum cap. Joe Grimmer. You heard Darrell van der Velde say that he was looking for his team to produce a good set of 6 tackles the first time that Widnes had the ball, and they did pretty well to hold that opening Widnes drive. There's Van der Velde, with his assistant Mick Morgan on his left.
Well, I was just about to say he'll be disappointed after a good defensive effort, and the ball was kicked fairly poorly. It went off a hand into touch. He'd be disappointed. Oh no, that's the touch judge. Don't blame Mr. Kershaw. That player definitely handled the ball. It should have been a Widnes feed.
But Castleford have it. Gary French, former Australian at fullback, Steve Larder. Ian Braga, one of the big money buys from Salford. It's actually his 4th appearance on Rugby League Live this season, 2 with Salford and 2 with Cass. Something to say to Tony Myler. And Braga penalised.
He's a player who tends to attract a lot of penalties one way or the other, Tony Myler. This time it went for him.
Andy Currier with the ball in hands. And he's going for goal. There's the guilty man. Look to it, does he? So Andy Currier, who's lost the goal-kicking job to Jonathan Davis this season, but is a most prolific points gatherer himself. Had a fabulous summer in Australia playing club rugby with Balmain. Really was one of the outstanding players of the Australian season. But he's had a checkered season with Widnes so far. That's a good kick. And Widnes into the lead. And a good goal by Andy Currier. And the ultimate penalty for Castleford's Ian Braga.
Braga might have got a bit off his chest there, but he also got the scoreboard attendant off his backside only 2 or 3 minutes into the game.
So 2 points to nil to Widnes. He'll need a bit more than that to put a smile on his face. David Hume. Widnes comfortably the First Division's leading try scorers last season. Have crossed their opponent's line only once in each of their last 2 games. They have been looking to play a tighter game with less errors, but they abandoned that plan in favour of their more familiar open off-the-cuff style this week, which is good news for us. Here's Kurt Sorensen. Joe Grimmer. Fumble by McKenzie, but he's able to recover it without the ball going forward. Topping the Widnes tackle count at the moment. McKenzie, nearly 350 already this season. Not bad for a hooker. Darren Wright going on. 5 tackles. And take to kick. Trying to get it behind Darren Price, but in on the full.
I think Cass again will be pretty happy with the way they tackled there and got some good pressure on the kicker to force an error. This was the area that let both teams down in the last time on Rugby League Live. Too many defensive misses. Castleford have opened up very well.
They've lost their last 5 matches, don't forget, just as they did at a critical time of last season, when they surrendered their long-held title lead. Last weekend's cup defeat at St Helens was their heaviest under Darrell Van der Velde. Jerry Kershaw, with some help from his touch judge Tony Palmer, penalising Widnes.
That really gets up my nose. Jerry Kershaw was 40 yards closer to that than the touch judge was. Have some confidence, Jerry. See it for yourself.
He did say to me beforehand that he would be instructing his touch judges to help him at every possible juncture. He sees it very much as a 3-man team officiating the game, but his final words were that he wanted the 26 players to provide the entertainment and for the officials to be forgotten. I don't think Widnes will quite have the touch judge out of their minds at this moment in time, as Lee Crooks tries to equalise for Castleford. His first goal for Castleford. A few pence of the huge transfer fee paid back. Darrell van der Veld monitoring every move with the help of Mick Morgan. Two points each. Rugby League Live from Weldon Road, Castleford. Home team in possession. Darren Price getting his chance because of an ankle injury to David Plange. Beardmore going on, making a half break. Well tackled by Ayres. Larder in the line. Braga. In touch. That cup defeat last weekend really has pulled the rug from under a season of great promise for Castleford. 2 semi-finals, 2 record signings, but no end product as yet.
Even so, I think they've done what Darrell van der Veld's asked of them. They're playing for today and forgotten tomorrow. I think Widnes are in second gear so far.
They were very nearly in top gear then, because for a split second the ball was in the hands of Martin O'Fire, but it spilled out. Here's Keith Beefy England. I wonder where he gets that nickname from. Kevin Ward. Went through Mike O'Neill as if he wasn't there. Fired up the big man. Gary French. Lee Crooks. Well, right back into the hands of O'Neill and out again. And a chance here for Hardy. And he could go all the way on his own. He's got his finger chammered in. The ball gone forward. No try.
Good call there by Mr. Kershaw, and some good football by Cass. They're busier, they're quicker to the loose ball. We saw that ball go to ground, but it was Cass that were there to get the ball and carry the play on. They look more energetic and more vitalised.
Important scrum, won by Widnes. Put up against Kevin Beardmore. It was a Widnes feed, and Beardmore was doing all that he could to take it against the head, but it's becoming more and more difficult in the modern game for the hooker without the advantage to win the ball. Kurt Sorensen. Grimmer.
There's the gang tackle that he wants. And it's the first man in that's low that allows the other players to come over the top and kill the ball.
Paul Hume being forced back by his opposite number, Roy Southernwood. Interesting choice by Castleford today. He's been out of the senior team for some time. David Hume.
There's the brains.
Good kick, making Larder turn back towards his own line. And a good chase too. Nowhere for the fullback to go. Tackle made by Mackenzie, but that was virtually a four-man effort. It was a cul-de-sac. Braga losing possession, picked up by Richie Ayres. Good field position for Widnes. Mackenzie. Brimmer. Slipped out to O'Fire, who was poaching again. His second pass, his second drop. Southernwood and Marder getting a little excited off the ball. O'Fire anything but excited. Been a bit out of sorts recently, but a brief lull in his explosive career. From behind the post, Castleford have the ball. Gary French playing at 6 today. Normally a scrum half, although he has had experience in his native Australia in the stand-up position. Here is the scrum half, Roy Southernwood. Keith England again. Hang on. Well done, Paul Hume. French. That's a good kick behind O'Fire.
some brains as well.
The little men usually have the biggest brains, I don't know why.
You won't get the argument out of me, Clive, about that.
Jerry Kershaw actually had charge of that Widnes Castleford game that we televised at Norton Park in November. Here's Alan Tay. Good tackle low down by his opposite number, Steve Larder. Here's on fire. Mike O'Neill.
This is the intimidation that Van der Velde spoke about. It comes through pressurised defence. They don't like it. Widnes are bustled. They're upset already.
Tate. Taken on the full by Larder. Important tackle for Currier to make. Usually around the scruff of the neck, but effective. Chapman. Hardy. Big man for a centre. He's just as happy with the number 13 on his back, Jeff Hardy. He's a very, very big man, Kevin Ward. It'll need the gang to stop him. Oh, he's lost the ball, though. Far more purpose about Darrell Van der Velde's team today. There's a lot of excitement at St Helens in that cup win last week. Rightly so, they played well, Saints, but Castleford were desperately disappointing. They lacked spirit and they lacked organisation. They've got a bit of both today. John Joyner, Lee Crooks, Jeff Hardy. His move from Sheffield didn't actually involve a fee. And the ball stolen from him by Andy Currier. Keith England seeking retribution. Here's John Devereux. Meaty tackles, Big Dean Sampson. Joe Grimmer. Grimmer stunned rather than hurt. Sorensen. Good defensive effort this by Castleford. They're making it very difficult for Widnes.
They've got to keep it up, Clive.
Here's Richie Ayres.
No slip-ups. They really need to keep this really pressurised.
Kick by Mackenzie. Larder. Ooh, that's dangerous business. Well tackled by O'Fire. Joe Grimmer. He's getting his head back on his shoulders. It's only his second game since he was rather controversially sent off against Wigan in that Regal Trophy game back on December the 9th. Long time out of the game. There's the man in charge on the field. Here's Joe Grimmer being revived. Long time out of the game. Ken and Deirdre together back then, weren't they? An 8-game suspension it was. Braga. Price. Keith England. There's Dean Sampson. He's having an outstanding season for Castleford, actually, the big prop forward. Joyner. Crooks. Well taken by David Hume, most dependable tackler. Hardy going on. Ward again. Two Great Britain veterans combined, and young Dean Sampson can't hold the pass. But Brian, considering Ward and Beardmore have been out of sorts recently, they've both had outstanding starts to this match.
Yeah, Ward's made a couple of handling errors there where he's let the ball be ripped out of his arms. But he is posing some threat, and Beardmore's busy. And his first up tackles today have been as good as I've seen out of Kevin Beardmore.
Seem to have got a new lease of life and the extra competition in the Castleford squad at the moment. Widnes, who are getting their competitiveness back now in terms of squad strength, with O'Neill and Grimmer back in the fold. Good news of a Mossy Coloto, who's returned to Britain this week and should be back in action within a week or so. Here's Lada. Darren Price. Aggressive, gutsy little winger. Here's Crooks. Almost got Hardy away, behind the body of Kurt Sorensen. Let's have a look at the statistics so far with Fred Lindop.
Oh, you're not on, you don't. Right. Yes, looking at the monitor. Right, looking at the monitor, Castleford are working extremely hard with 59 tackles compared with Widnes' 55 tackles, so indeed both teams are working very hard.
A lot of tackling to be done by Castleford, but they really have gone about their defensive business very well. Here's Martin O'Fire, though, with a little bit of space on the outside. He's beaten Price, he's run through French, he's got support from Alan Tate. Terrific break that by O'Fire, it's shaken the whole game up. Touch judge is in play. Widnes, though, within 10 yards of the Castleford line. The Hume brothers combine. Joe Grimmer breaks a tackle. Richie Ayres hangs on, and Tony Martin scores. Ball went forward. No try. Touch judge is on the far side. Tony Martin looking disappointed. But Alan Pickett, the official, has got something to say to Jerry Kershaw as we watch a replay of that.
Mr. Kershaw is extremely well positioned here as he moves across inside the line of the ball. Some nice skills. But Ayres, the ball definitely goes forward there, and a great decision by Mr. Kershaw.
No try. And Ian Braggers didn't bother again. Jerry Kershaw has got a full report from the touch judge, and the Castleford centre, who was presumably involved with Martin O'Fire down that left-hand side, has conceded a penalty.
Kershaw's got himself in a bit of a flap there and put his arm up the wrong way. He's finally got it right and given the penalty to Widnes, which makes me wonder, why did the touch judge come on to report a Castleford player when Widnes are about to score a try? Has he heard about the advantage rule?
Mackenzie, Paul Hume, Mike O'Neill. Mackenzie again, Kurt Sorensen. Essential for Widnes that they find their try-scoring touch again. David Hume, passing the defence though, as you can see from their view of things, holding out well, forcing another error with another big hit.
Great tackle by England there, forcing the error.
Kevin Ward. Rugby League Live from West Yorkshire this afternoon on Granada Television. Widnes and Castleford locked at 2 points each. Both have crossed the line, only to have their scores disallowed. And Doug Lawton puffing away thoughtfully on the prospect of launching a final championship push here on a ground that's been good to Widnes in the last couple of seasons. Again, Jerry Kershaw, the referee, being very meticulous about the formation of the scrum. Hume brothers combining again. Good break by Darren White. Open field. Got Alan Tate and Martin O'Fire in support. Alan Tate, Martin O'Fire. 2 to beat. Support from Andy Currier. Terrific stuff by Widnes, opening the game out and scoring a memorable try.